Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana hobby guy. I know I've been missing in action the last week or so. Lots been going on though, the last week and a half or so. I've been doing a lot of cleanup in here and organizing. But I have a video that I've been wanting to get out for a long time, probably 6 months. I'm crossing this one off my to-do list, and that is how to get better engravings than you're getting right now. And I want to dispel the myth about how a CO2 laser cannot get the same type of engraving as a diode laser. And generally speaking, that's true. But if you know the trick to it, it's not true. So I had a conversation with my friend Steve at Hobo with Wood. If you haven't seen his channel, it's a great channel. Just search Hobo with Wood. He also launched a new website called hobowithwood.com where you can buy his creations. But anyway, I had a conversation with him just last night, and we were talking about the fact that he's got a new CO2 and that he can't get good engravings. And we had maybe an hour-long conversation, and I think I got him on the right path. And I'd like to get you guys on the right path too. So let's jump over into Lightburn real quick. Let's find out what I'm talking about, and let's get this video started. Let's go. All right, so here we're in Lightburn. And don't worry, diode users, we're going to talk about the diode laser as well. This really only impacts the CO2 laser, but I'm going to show you the difference on the diode as well with LPI and line after fill. So you're going to want to stick around for that. Now, this is a file that I got from my buddy, my partner in the laser makers realm. If you haven't seen that, we have a group of makers where we make something every other Sunday, and you get a chance to either win it, the final product, or you get a chance to get the files for free. So that Laser Makers Realm is all about free files, and we're posting free files there every couple of days. So you'll want to go over there and check out the Laser Makers Realm. And this is from Steve, Hobo with Wood. This is a gift card box. And I want to show you what the difference is and what I'm talking about and how to make this work for you. So let's come over to the cuts and layers over here. And you'll see that I have a multi-layer going on here. So let's take a look at the black. The red we're not going to be concerned with because that's a cut path. So let's look at the black and see what we've got. So here we've got a fill, and we've got a speed of 150 millimeters per second, and we've got a max power of 45 with a line per inch of 254. And this is how most people are going to run their job. They're either going to be at 254 or they might be as high as 318, something like that. So what I do now, if I want a dark engraving, and about 70% of the time you're going to want a nice dark black engraving. That's the whole idea behind laser engraving. Some parts you want to have different shades. This is where you control the shades of color. Right here is going to be in your line per inch and also your maximum power. So you can have 5 different layers with 5 different shades of color. Today we're talking about how to get the darkest, nicest burn. So what I'm going to do here on this first layer is I'm going to increase this to 400 LPI. Okay, and now you're saying, well, wait a minute, that's a 0.06 spot size. I know that mount port behind you doesn't, it's only got a 0.1 spot size. How are you going to get a 0.6? Well, the idea here is we're going to overlap lines. The lines are going to be overlapping each other instead of next to each other with a space between them or right next to each other touching. We're going to overlap those lines so that you don't see the lines in the wood after the engraving is done, and that's going to blacken up the entire burn because you're burning over an area that's already been burned on both sides. That phone just never stops. So what we're doing here is we're increasing the lines per inch to 400 so we get the overlap. And then over here we're going to do a line after fill. And I'm going to take this down from 150 millimeters per second down to 100. And actually I'd probably take this down to about 75 and with a max power of 20. And that should give me a nice line after fill. And that's really all there is to it. We're going to do a really high LPI over here of 400, and we're going to come back over here and we're going to do the line after fill. It's just going to outline the text itself. Now this we're talking about for, you know, vector and raster graphics. We're not talking about images, although you can defocus and you can increase the LPI on images. That's an artwork, and that's a topic for a whole nother video. There are the settings. Let's jump over and take a look at some of the pictures of the results. And I've done this on 3 different lasers. So I've done it on the Monport 80, the GWiki 50, and the Monport 40. So 3 different CO2s, as well as I did it on the Rollei Lasermatic 10. We also have a diode thrown in there as well. So you diode users, you're going to want to stick around for that too. Let's go ahead and jump into the pictures real quick and let me show you what the results were, the difference between 318 and 400 LPI. All right, so here is our first picture. And we have the word happy. And this is on the CO2. And if I zoom in a little bit, it's going to distort. But here you can see the line after fill. You don't see any lines of the wood. Up here is 318 DPI with no line after fill. There is a big difference, and you're going to see it better. I'm not good at taking these pictures. They never seem to come out well for me. In person, there is a huge difference between the two of these. And this burned all the way through the wood over here for some reason. I don't know why. Let's move on and get a little bit closer so you can see it better. And there you can see the nice black burn that we have going on. And that is the bottom one at 400 LPI. The top one is at 318. And you will see some white space or the natural color of the wood showing through in different places, as you can see here. I did have a perfect focus on this. Now here you don't see any of that. Here is just a nice black burn with that line after fill coming around, really making it pop. You can't see it in this picture, but you will in the next. And there we go. So now what I did here was I did this focused at 400 LPI, and you can see how nice that looks. And then I did it defocused by 3 millimeters. So I raised the focus up. I took it out of focus by 3 millimeters, and what do we get? We don't get the same type of anomalies we have here, like these little lines and dots and burn marks and things like that. I mean, it's in here, but you don't see it as much. You have a much cleaner burn down here. You have a much nicer line after fill, and I think this is just an outstanding result, this bottom one here. I do like to defocus when I want the darker burns, and if you could see this in person, you'd see the contrast between the two, but it's kind of hard to see on these pictures that I've taken. So let's move on to the next one, and here is a much better picture of a 400 LPI with the line after fill. It is just a fabulous engraving, as you can see. Came out really super well. And down here you can see the difference again between 318 here and 400 down on the bottom. Now this is on the Monport 80 watt. Both of these files were on the Monport 80 watt. And it's just an incredible result just by, this one up here is just defocused by 3 millimeters. It is 400 LPI and it's got the line after fill. And here's a close-up of that. And here maybe you can see better what I'm talking about. What a really beautiful result this is. I mean, the picture speaks for itself. Now, let's move on to the diode laser. Now, there is not a whole lot of difference with defocusing with the diode laser, okay? And actually, perfect focus on the diode is the best way to engrave. Now you see up top here is perfect focus, 318 LPI. Now you see I have defocused it by 300 millimeters. I've gotten a darker result, but I can get that same result without having to defocus. So now here you can see defocus by 6 millimeters. It's just a lighter shade of black. But here's perfect focus with the line after fill at 400 LPI. Perfect focus, 400 LPI. Really nice result on the diode laser with the line after fill being 1200 millimeters per minute and 45% power. All of these were all done. The fill was done at 70 power and 7,000 millimeters per minute. This was done on the Rollei Lasermatic 10, and it was done on the first shot. I have a custom library for that has hundreds of settings in it. If you haven't seen that library yet, you can find it on engraveandcutfiles.com, which is the website where I sell my graphics. And I have that file for sale with all of those settings. If you have a 10-watt diode laser, you'll want to pick up that library because it'll get you started with all of your baseline settings where you can engrave and cut like a pro. Engraveandcutfiles.com. There you go. So now if we come down a little further, you can see the result of defocusing by 3 millimeters with the line after fill and defocusing by 6 millimeters with the line after fill. Doesn't make it any better. In fact, on the diode, the perfect focus with the line after fill is the best result in my opinion. So let's take another look at the diode here. And on the left, you see 318 DPI, 7,000 millimeters per minute. And on the right, you see 400 LPI and 7,000 millimeters per minute. This is the same. Now this one does not have the line after fill, so if you don't like that feature, you don't have to use it. But look at the difference between the two. There's a huge difference here in the way that this came out just by increasing the LPI. And again, this only works well with vectors and rasters. But there you go. So there are all the pictures. There's the diode. This is the CO2. I think that is just, this picture's worth 1,000 words. This is what happens when you increase your LPI and you add the line after fill. I finally got one good picture anyway. All right, so that's it. There you have it. Very simple technique. Hopefully a short enough video today, but you're going to get great results, and you're just not going to get any better than this right here. I mean, that's the same. Believe it or not, these two are done on the same CO2, and I did this on the Montport 80, not this one. I did this on the Montport 80. I did it on the G-Wiki 50 watt, and I did it on the Montport 40 watt CO2, and all three of them, you know, you get the same results. And this is the difference between being a hobbyist laser engraver and, you know, developing professional designs. So this is a professional engraving, what you see here, happy. Now this one burnt through over here, odd spot, but look at the difference between the two words happy. And I know I've already covered this already, but it's a huge difference. And these two are basically the same. You know, these are the same settings except for the LPI and the line after fill. So that just makes that much of a difference. So you've got 318 DPI here, which is what a lot of people are going to say, yeah, that's my maximum DPI. And that's not true. So you can do, you know, 318, you can do 400, 450, 500, 600 on the CO2s. And, you know, you've got the speed. So as an example, you know, on this one here, I can run 50 millimeters a second, which is 30,000 millimeters per minute for you diode users. And that's quite fast. So I can bump the power way up and still get these kind of results in a, you know, in a flash. I mean, there's just so many people out there that are using the CO2 the wrong way. And even the diode users, you know, when you look at the difference between these two run at exactly the same speed, exactly the same power, no line after fill on this one, but I bumped up the DPI or the LPI to 400. So that's the only difference between these two. This one, hard to read. This one, perfectly readable. I haven't cleaned these up yet. When I clean these up, this one will look gorgeous compared to this one. This one will look washed out. So Typically before I clean them, just as a little tip so that you know, and this one didn't have much soot on it right here, but I typically spray them with a little bit of water so that the soot actually stains the background. Now, if you increase the LPI, then you don't have to worry so much about the soot staining because you're going to get a nice dark burn. So, you know, that's it. There's not much else to say. I want to just give you a heads up on what's coming. I want to address the battle of the 20 watts, which I know I announced over a month ago. Now that battle of the 20 watts is still on, but interesting enough, when I announced it, I had 4 laser companies that had sent me their 20 watt diodes. Well, now I've got more on the way. I've got a couple that are already here. I'm up to about 8. So I wanted to push that down the road a little bit, the battle of the 20 watts, because I want to get as many of them as I can to do side-by-side comparisons, and not really side-by-side, but what I'm going to be doing is running the same files on every laser. So I'm not going to change anything in Lightburn. I'm going to run the same exact test files on every single one of those lasers, and I think I'm going to be up to about 8 or 9 of them by the time we get to the actual final results for the video. So I think it's important that you're going to get a broad spectrum of all the 20 watt diodes that are going to be on the market. And as a matter of fact, you might even get the Rolly 20 watt might even be out by then, because Leo is telling me maybe May. So that one might even be in with the group. No telling. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I have to say in this video. I tried to keep it short, but I'm not good at that, and you guys already know that. So, but anyway, I had fun making this video today. This is something that's been on my mind. It's been on my to-do list for a long time, because I get so many people that ask me these questions, and I answer them with the LPI and the line after fill, and you know, I spend so much time typing this out where now I can just say, well, go watch this video, because this is what's going to get you a professional engraving, something that you can charge more than everybody else is charging, something that you can sell for top dollar at the craft shows or online in your Etsy store, wherever it might be. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video today as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.